kiek vaikų mokyklai ir ar turi jie atranką, pavyzdžiui, vaikų?
Do you have selection? Do you have competition to get into your school, and how many kids are in your school?
No, nearly out of all the private schools, the private sector in Australia is 40%.
Privatus sektorius Australijoje 40%.
And there would be, I only know of 2 schools in my state that have selection to get into the private schools.
Žinau tik 2 mokyklas, kurios turi tokius atrankos.
The state schools, on the other hand, have some high-performing schools
Geros valstybinės mokyklos,
where you've got to pass an examination to get in.
turi
And
net
there'd
egzaminus į vidų.
Probably 6 or 7 of those.
6 ar 7 tokios.
And those selective state schools
Kai kurios tokios selektyvios mokyklos
are the only state schools that compete with the private schools in terms of outcomes.
yra tos, kurios konkuruoja su privačiomis mokyklomis tam pačiam lygiai.
And so, a very good point. It's a very good question.
Labai geras klausimas.
Because the state government, when they realised that why is it that private schools seem to get better outcomes?
Kai valstija stebėjo tas 40% privačių, kodėl tenai geresni rezultatai,
Even though they don't have selection tests.
jeigu jie neturi atrankų.
And so they looked at private schools and decided that they would copy them.
Jie pasižiūrėjo, jie sako, kopijuokim jas.
And so about 10 years ago, 10 or 12 schools
10 mokyklų toje valstijoje
were given permission to behave like private schools,
leido joms veikti privačių mokyklų
to
rėmais.
see whether or not results would go up.
Pažiūrėti, ar kils ar nekils rezultatai.
And they did.
Ir jos tą padarė.
So we now have about 50 or 60 of them, and it's increasing all the time because
Dabar jau nebe 12, dabar 50-60.
it works. So what are the things that private schools do
Ką privačios mokyklos daro?
that work
Kas veikia?
and produce better outcomes
Kas duoda geresnius rezultatus?
that state schools are now copying?
Ką valstybės mokyklos kopijuoja?
Autonomy
Autonomija.
of the director
Vadovų autonomija.
to choose their own teachers and to sack them if they are not any good.
Pasirinkti mokytojus ir atleisti juos.
That's the first thing that they give the directors. The second thing, they give the director autonomy on how they spend their budget.
Kitas dalykas yra biudžeto autonomija, priimti sprendimus su biudžetu mokyklos.
There's only 3, I'm just trying to remember what the third one was. So it's autonomy on staff, I remember, autonomy on budget, which is a big thing because that affects everything that the school can do as to how they spend the money. The third one was they had to have a parent council.
Trečias yra tėvų taryba.
And the parent council meets regularly with the teachers and the director to have
Su mokytojais ir su vadovu.
real input into school decision making.
Tam, kad turėtų normaliai įsitraukti į...
Because in the private sector, when the parents pay money,
Kai duoda pinigus tėvai,
they have input.
jie dalyvauja.
And the director and the teachers listen to the parents because the parents are paying their salaries.
Direktorius ir mokytojai klauso, nes moka atlyginimus.
What the state government recognised was that this dynamic of parents having more say and input into what is happening in the school actually improves the school.
Nes valstybiniam sektoriui lygiai taip pat, kuo daugiau tėvai įsitraukia, tuo geresni rezultatai mokyklos.
So they didn't start charging the parents in these state schools money. They simply gave them authority under law to have input into decision making with the director. So the director got autonomy on finance, autonomy on staffing, but he didn't get autonomy from parents. He actually now has to work with parents. And these 3 things across the board made results go up in the school. My view as someone who's worked in the private sector for more than 30 years now is that the most important one of all of those is the autonomy to choose and get rid of your staff if you need to. That to me would be the thing that I would want to lose the least in terms of the ability to actually affect outcomes is always focused on teachers, so the ability to choose my teachers or to move my teachers on has to be the most powerful thing that the government was giving to the to the directors.
Turbūt pats svarbiausias dalykas, ką valdžia davė. And then the question is on how would you qualify to be given autonomy? As if, when we were speaking about the teachers, the teachers who show the results, they are given autonomy. So what about the principals? This is, me, I want to have autonomy.
No, everyone
would want autonomy, to get, budget decisions and to get...
They chose the highest performing directors to give autonomy to. Same as you would reward high performing teachers with autonomy. They rewarded the highest performing principals. So they were already running good schools with good results. So with more autonomy, the results went up, and then they became competitive with the private schools. So they are copying that model through as more principals come into the system. What they're not doing is they're not giving that autonomy to underperforming principals. But over a period of some years, as underperforming principals leave the system and new principals come in, the aim is eventually that all state schools will have directors with that autonomy. It's another good example of a systemic change where they've chosen to change something which can impact the whole system rather than just a part of it. Once again, though, the key is teachers. Key is teachers all the time.
Yeah, I have a question. It's very popular in Lithuania now, just authority of the teacher. What is the teacher? Does he have authority? Not prestige, the authority. Can he, it was like discussion, can he beat the child? Something, it was very primitive, but can he be very strict and authoritarian when it's needed? And do you have some references about it, maybe?
I think in our Australian,
Yes,
Australian
much
culture,
authority.
teachers have always had a lot of authority.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't necessarily been respected as professionals, but they've always had authority in the classroom and in the school. I was surprised to find students going out for a cigarette in the gymnasium where I was at during the week. And I said, how does that work? And I discovered that the teachers didn't like it, but they couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
In Australia, the school teachers and the director has the authority to, a student would be warned once. If the student got caught a second time, they would probably be suspended from school for 2 weeks, sent home.
Vieną kartą pagautas.
And if they did it a third time, they would be expelled. They wouldn't be allowed back to the school.
In Lithuania, headmaster was thrown away when he tried to punish the principal.
It's a big question.
It was a big question.
I think the difficulty with the undermining of authority or discipline is that it undermines the culture in the school, and it undermines because there are many, within one organisation there are multiple cultural things happening, and so you can't divorce the culture of behaviour from the culture of learning. So you'll notice in all the photographs that nearly all the schools in Australia have a uniform.
Kultūros tam tikri dalykai, pavyzdžiui, tos uniformos mokyklose praktiškai visose.
Because we find, we either believe or we find, but no one really wants to experiment with it, that if the students have a culture of dressing for work, they come with an expectation because of the way they are dressed that they are going to work.
Jeigu apsirengia uniformą, tai nusiteikia darbą, nusiteikia rimtam darbui ir ateina su lūkesčiais rimto darbo.
And so the social culture of dress affects the culture of learning.
Socialinė tokia apsirengimo kultūra, jinai keičia mokymosi kultūrą.
And so occasionally schools will have a day where the uniform doesn't have to be worn.
Kartais dienų padaromos dienos, kai nereikia.
Anecdotally, the behaviour on those days is not as good from the students. And in my organisation, I've been trying to get rid of this for some time. But in my central office, we have casual day on Friday.
Mes turim penktadienį
And
savo
I hate this term.
centriniam biure dieną be kostiumų.
Because I would normally wear a suit and tie to work every day. And so would all of my senior staff in the central office. But they had this casual day on Friday where they wear jeans and a t-shirt and joggers. And I hate it. Their behaviour changes. They not only wear casual clothes, but they are casual about work as well. And I find they go out for lunch, which is supposed to be 30 minutes, and then I come back for 1 hour. So it's just an example of how I think that where there is not strong discipline, it doesn't have to be necessarily strict, but it can be strong. Strict means that there's lots of rules about everything. Strong means that there might only be a few rules, but the rules are kept strongly. So I think there has to be strong discipline in behaviour to support the culture of learning. You could imagine if you looked at this Stacy diagram with regards to behaviour. Which would be an interesting thing to do, to get a school to try to map their culture about behaviour and get a picture of what it's like, and then look to see whether there's any connection with their with the work that's happening in teaching and learning. I suspect there would be a correlation between expectations about behaviour and about dress and about smoking and about politeness and manners and learning.
Bet ar čia, pavyzdžiui, neįsišoka su to, kas čia nubražyta, sakysim, arti chaoso?
The question is, how does the chaos look like here? You know, this territory of on the verge of chaos.
No, actually,
students smoking. I don't chaos or
no, I don't think.
Pavyzdžiui, kad yra apranga, tarkim, tai kaip čia man tai visiškai ta dėžutė, jeigu yra uniformas ir viskas kaip ir aišku.
Boxy, it's kind of all there.
Yeah, I kind of see the education system within the schools to be operating mostly in the box. Very strongly in the box rather than out here. Although the students, when you see them in the at lunchtime, appear to be quite casual. The overall impression I got from the schools is that you're much more here in the policy box than out here.
Moksleiviai per pietus Lietuvoje labai atrodo gyvi ir kasdieniniai, bet čia tai labai įdėžutinti.
For example, I was surprised to find that all the furniture in the schools, including the university, are all the same wooden tables and chairs, whether or not you're in kindergarten or whether you are in university.
Nuo universiteto iki pat darželio visi baldai vienodi, mediniai baldai.
Here you can see something special.
Yeah, that caught my thought. Did you bring that?
No.
I like this idea.
This is different. And these chairs are much more comfortable than the wooden ones, but everything was in strict rows, and I wondered why every classroom was in strict rows. So no difference between teachers.
Ir mokytojai mokosi eilėmis universitete, matėm, po du sėdi prie stalų ir...
In my classroom not. In my classroom I have later.
Okay.
But you felt that I different teacher from my questions.
Yes, I noticed it right from the beginning. And I think, you know, I only went to one school and one university, but the feeling in the school I went to was that it was quite tight on policy and practice. But I don't know whether that's normal. In Australia, we have, I wouldn't want you to think that I'm telling you that, you know, all Australian schools are working out here.
When they sit it on your schools.
And I did say to you, I've been the CEO now for 7 years, and in 7 years I haven't been able to get rid of Casual Friday. And we have schools where, like I said to you right at the beginning, if I keep saying academic, I actually don't mean just academic, I mean all learning. But the reason why we're focused on academic in our 7 schools is because all of our 7 schools are significantly below average on academic results. Because the focus for many years...
Dėl ko koncentruojamės tos akademinius, todėl kad mokyklos yra žemiau akademinių standartų. Ir čia tiesa dar vienas dalykas, kontekstą tiesiog truputėlį paaiškinsiu. Privačios mokyklos nereiškia, kad privačios, ta prasme, kad susirenka turtingų tėvų turtingus vaikus. Privačios mokyklos reiškia, kad jos tiesiog dirba truputėlį kitaip, bet ima tuos pačius vaikus. Gali lygiai taip pat būti, daug yra mokyklų kurios susirenka vaikus iš nepasiturinčių šeimų. Ir valstybė dalyvauja tame, valstybė skiria 70 ir kažkiek procentų. Tai va tie akademiniai, tai nėra tam tikros kažkokios elitinės mokyklos, elitinių mokyklų tinklas, tai yra tiesiog mokyklos, kurios yra galbūt laisvesnė rėmė.
We've been spending all of our money and our energy and our focus on building beautiful buildings and having really nice curriculums and all the things that were the distractions. We were focused on the wrong things. So now right now we're in the process of changing the focus to teachers and away from buildings.
So in a way the thing is, can have good schools as well, because we have teachers and it's not dependent on the money.
No, it's not dependent on money, it's not dependent on buildings. It's dependent upon the teachers. You might need some money though to have an impact on supporting and training the teachers' capacity. Because my understanding of the budget that I saw is that there's very, very little money in school budgets for professional development of teachers.
The observations are perfect.
O kaip, pavyzdžiui, koks skirtumas, kad krikščioniškų mokykla, ko čia ypatinga yra?
What's the difference in between, what does it make, your network of schools are Christian.
Yeah.
And the question is how different are they from all the others?
As I said, 40% of all schools, of all students go to private schools in Australia. It's a very big percentage in the Western world for private schools. And 95% of all of those private schools are Christian schools. There are one or two Islamic schools and one or two Jewish schools. And the rest of them are mostly owned by Christian churches. So the Catholic Church would own more than half of all of those private schools. So they are the biggest stakeholder in private education in Australia, is the Catholic Church. And this goes back to our history. When we were founded as a colony of England, there were no schools. And so it was the Anglican Church and the Catholic Church that started the first schools in Australia. And ever since, schools run by churches have been a significant part of education in Australia. In terms of academic results, private schools tend to do better than state schools. But I'm not sure that's because they are religious in nature. I think it's more to do with the autonomy of directors to choose their staff. Because better teachers get better outcomes. So if you have autonomy with your staff, you can always produce better results by fine-tuning your staff.